Excellent. So thank you so much, Zach, for your time in here as a continuation from the past seminar and given the interesting subject that we talked briefly about rent to own. I have encountered additional questions that I want to ask you. So potential tenants who want to become owners are, have the answers for that. So the first question that I have for you is in regard to the upfront cost and monthly payments. What is it involved?
Perfect. Thanks for the question, Adriana. So, as far as the upfront costs, so there's kind of some costs in buying a home that you're never going to be able to recover. So those would be costs like doing a property inspection and also doing a property appraisal. A property inspection is basically a cost that you're not going to get back. Is just to make sure the home is safe. You're usually looking at $400 to $500. The property appraisal, same idea, $400 to $500, and that's just to determine like the value of the piece of property. That really ensures that we're not overpaying for a piece of real estate. So those are kind of two hard costs that you're not gonna get back. As far as other costs for you as a tenant buyer, the big one, and I don't like to use the word cost, but more of, as an investment, is going to be your down payment. Okay, so the minimum down payment for our program is typically about 4% of the home price. So that would be an upfront cost to yourself or an upfront investment. Um, and then from there, once that once that's been paid, and the reason I'm looking at it like an investment, Adriana, is because we're just holding that for you, right? When you go to buy back the home in the, let's say your upfront down payment was $20,000 or $50,000. When you go to buy the home back in 2, 3, or 4 years, that money is refunded to you. So it's not a cost per se that you're not getting back. Okay. On a monthly basis, you're going to have two monthly payments. Okay. The first payment is a payment that you're probably paying right now, and that's going to be a monthly rent payment. Okay. So your monthly rent is essentially so that we can pay our mortgage payment, we can pay the property tax, we can pay the insurance. It's a set rent payment for the duration of the program. So there's no rental increases. Um, but you're not like getting any refunds on that rent payment. It's just like a normal rent payment that you'd be paying if you're renting a house today. Okay. The second payment, we're calling that a savings credit. Okay. And the savings credit actually gets added on the original down payment that you gave us to force savings you. So what that means is when you enter into the program, let's say $20,000, your savings credit is to make it when you leave the program, you have more than $20,000 of savings. So the exact number of the exact number of what your savings credit's going to be, it really depends on the client itself and how much of a down payment you're going to need built up for you through the duration of the program. Like some of our clients, Adriana, have no savings credit payments. Some have had one for a couple $100. Some has had, I'm just working with a client right now that has like a $700 a month savings credit. So again, that's not a fee, but it is an additional investment that you're making, and we're holding that money for you. So at the end of the program, you have a larger down payment.
Okay, so now that you mentioned that, how long is the rent term before the buyer is expected to buy the purchase the property?
Yeah, so everyone's going to be a little bit different. I would say most commonly it's about a 2 to 3 year program. Okay. So most common, like, I mean, we've been willing to extend it as well, like on the upfront for up to like a 4 year program.
Mhm.
But the reason we've had such a high success rate, and when I say success rate, I'm talking about clients who have actually bought the home back from us, Adriana, we've been over 90% successful in that, is because we're working with clients that are kind of on the qualifying edge, right? So if someone comes to us and they need 7 or 8 years to own a home, it's not going to be the right client for us. We're looking for people that will own a home in 2, 3, 4 years.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and if something does happen and we need longer, happy to extend and work with that client for a longer time period if we need to.
okay, and how is the purchase price determined and now and later?
Great question. So the purchase price, like today's purchase price, is remember I just talked about the appraisal. So you're going to go out with a real estate agent. We're going to be making competitive offers on homes, and that's how today's purchase price is going to be determined based on like what the market price is today, right? And we're going to help you like, you know, strategically make offers so that we can get the price for as low as we can, right? And then the other price we're going to have is a buyout price. So let's say we bought a home today for $500,000. After the 3-year program, we're not selling it back at 500,000. It's at an increased price every year for appreciation, which is
Market
also
value.
like inflation. Things are getting more expensive. So typically it's about 4 to 5% increase per year. However, happy to work on a case by case scenario with you if you're interested. But that just it's kind of built into the program to account for the inflation, to account for the appreciation. So that buyback price, Adriana, that's a fixed price. If the home, which this has happened numerous times, is worth more than the buyback price, the client is still only paying the buyback price.
Okay.
Okay, so there's an opportunity there to inherit equity in the home. There's opportunity to do some, work in the home or some painting, whatever you want to do. But ultimately, that buyback price is fixed. Another common question I get, Adriana, is what happens if the home isn't worth what the buyback price is?
Okay.
Right?
And what
And we
happened?
do have a solution for that as well.
Mhm.
It allows us, and just not going maybe in too much detail here, but if there's one thing we know about real estate, I know from our meetup there, eventually it's going to be worth what that buyback price is, right? If your
Correct.
buyback home is 550, maybe there's a massive recession and now the home is only worth
Expense
500.
situations.
Eventually it's going to be worth 550. So at our team at Rent Live Own, we figured out a way to extend the program without increasing the buyback price of the home.
Okay.
So what that would just mean is the program just continues on for a little longer
Mhm.
until the price is worth 550.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a market response. You cannot do anything about that. And
Exactly.
what happened if the buyer decided not to proceed with the purchase?
Okay, phenomenal question. So, I mean, we're really looking for really highly motivated, people that are going to want to buy the home, Adriana. We're not looking for like wishy-washy clients that are all of a sudden going to be changing their mind. We've had like a few like major um circumstances. Maybe I can just give you an example right now. We had a circumstance with one of our clients being employed at a different province, and we actually we worked with that client to then help them find a renter so that it could cover their payments. And now we're actually looking at selling the house so that we can recuperate the upfront initial investment that the tenant buyer made, their down payment, plus all of the monthly savings credits. And there might even be additional profit at the end of the deal. But really, Adriana, we're looking for our clients to be 100% motivated and all in on buying their home. If extenuating circumstances do happen and they get, moved a job, we're gonna work with them to figure out how we can sell the house and recuperate their savings that they've invested into the home, of course. But if we have a client that's, just moved in and they're just doesn't really happen there, but you know, the motivation for the client is like you're expected to buy the home, right? So when we're signing this agreement together, you're highly motivated to buy the home, and the only caveat with that would be something like extenuating circumstances, not that hey, listen, I changed my mind and I want my money back. Like that's not who we want to work with. We want
Mhm.
people to buy the home at the end of the program.
Okay, great. And only one last question because talking about the prices, especially in Toronto, I know that this program is applicable for all over Ontario. So certainly in some cities, it's a lot more feasible to get a house for 500, 600. But given the price tag in the city of Toronto, do you, or is my assumption to say that it will be more applicable for condos than for homes?
Yeah, you're correct. So I mean the challenge once we get into markets like Toronto is just the sheer cost of a property, right?
Yes.
Um, and we're always looking to limit risk, and that's not just the client's risk that we're working with, but also our company's risk and our investors' risk. So for us, we're really looking to target homes. I would say like 750,000 dollars or less. If it's going to be above that, I mean, I don't ever want to say no. It would have to be for the right client because
Mhm.
we want to make sure we're setting them up for success. But condos are common, or just working a little bit outside of Toronto.
Okay, so that's about it. Thank you so much for your time once again, and I'll be in touch.